Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Brass, and I think that many liberals are confused about conservative arguments when conservatives talk about trends as they call them slippery slope fallacies, when in reality they are more so talking about what is consistent with a given principle. Now, if conservatives say that if we allow A to happen, it will definitely lead to B and C, that is a fallacy of the slippery slope. But if they say if we allow A under this principle, then logically speaking, it should lead to B and C, that's not a slippery slope fallacy because you're not saying that it will happen, but rather if people care about logical consistency, it should happen. Now, people may allow A under a principle and simply never care about being logically consistent, so it won't lead to B and C, but that still doesn't change the fact that they should say B and C would be logically consistent with the principle under A. To give an example, it would be like a conservative saying that if we allow gay marriage under the principle that all adults should have the right to enter into a contract with one another, then things like polygamy or incest should follow. Liberals will say that's a slippery slope fallacy, but the thing is, they are not saying that it will happen, that society will just allow polygamy and incest amongst adults, but merely that under the principle that all adults should have the right to contract with one another, then logically speaking, there is no reason that it should be restricted to monogamous, non-relative people, as they can all be adults who decide to contract with one another. Notice that this is not a slippery slope fallacy because, again, they're not saying that it will happen, that society that accepts gay marriage will inevitably legalize polygamy and incest marriages. They're not saying that at all because, I mean, it could be possible in their mind that that people will just never consistently take that principle to its logical end. And that's always a possibility, as people can be logically inconsistent at times. Now, what would be the correct way for liberals and libertarians when faced with that sort of logical principle? How would they do it? How should they go about it? Two ways that a liberal or libertarian could respond to that would be, for one, to bite the bullet and say, yes, that's precisely what you're saying. Or two, they could explain that's not actually the correct understanding of the principle they are going for, as they can say that gay marriage should be legal under the principle that all adults should have the right to contract in a way that has beneficial outcomes for society. As in that case, it's not strictly speaking about adults consenting, but it's about them consenting in a positive way for society. And they could make the statement that societal benefits that come from recognizing same-sex marriages do not apply similarly to polygamous or incestuous relationships, which might involve complexities such as unequal power dynamics or risk of harm. So, yeah, that is the thought that I've been having, and it's an aggravating thing that I've seen going back and forth with conservatives and liberals, and, of course, libertarians get it thrown in there. Now, obviously, I believe in the right to contract and freedom of association, and so that is why I'm in favor of gay marriage. And I personally don't care if in the end of the day that means that people that people end up being polygamous or even to a certain extent be incestuous. I don't really care that much on that end. I mean, personally, I'm not for incest, but I also think that, I mean, provided they're adults, I think society will overall tone that down itself. There doesn't really need to be a law that stops it, as shaming will do a lot of that away. Alright, well, that is all for today. This is Mr. Brass saying goodbye and get wise.